Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Welcome back to the 25th talk in our mental health awareness series, a Buddhist perspective. In today's talk, we will be discussing about hypocrisy, especially from a perspective of not being a hypocritic. So the full topic is going to be like stop being a hypocrite. Now the term hypocrisy is given in Pali language to be kuhana. Now kuhana seems to be a perfect Pali word to understand what's going on with a hypocrite or someone who has hypocrisy. It is of course very normal to see that we all have some issues at certain point in which we are not able to live up to our own moral standards. We express ourselves in a way, we reflect, and we wanted to share uh, with other people that this is how we stand for our own moral things, like codes, I would say, moral um, precepts or whatever other such things, obligations. But it is not easy for many of us to live up to those, moral things at all times. There may be some, but it is, a fact that most of us sort of mess up with our own expectations, especially when it comes to morality. So when we have this issue, that means when we are not living up to proclaimed, said morality, then we tend to be a hypocrite. That means we have double standards. We say something, but we are not doing what we are supposed to act, because we talk, but when it comes to actions, our actions do not reflect of what we spoke earlier. Now, this is such a very important intersection in Buddhist history, because we know Shakyamuni Buddha, he was introduced in a very interesting Pali term, like we call it an appellation. He is called to be somebody who has this virtue called Yathavadi Tathakari. Now, Yathavadi Tathakari means that there is someone who is reflecting his or her actions depending on what he earlier or what she earlier spoke. That means his words and actions are pretty much the same. So that's why he was given this appellation called, this name called Yathavadi Tathakari. If we flip the word, in this way, uh, Yathakari Tathavadi, right? So the way that Buddha uh, acts on different things is pretty much similar to what he speaks. That means there is no, I would say, conflict with what he talks and what he does, and what he talks, right? So this is what we call not being a hypocrite. Generally speaking, we are not supposed to, I would say, act in a way that we reflect us, that we, show us to other people, right? But we understand there are certain circumstances where we are not living up to our own moral standards. So today we will be looking at why is this happening? and how to get rid of this hypocritic nature if we have, and what are the steps that we can follow to become a person who is very, trustworthy, especially with our actions, with our words, and why are some people becoming hypocritics. So these are the main areas that we're going to be covering in today's talk. Okay, so when it comes to the subject now, why people becoming hypocritics, it is because that the sort of morality that they proclaim, that they claim, uh, to outside world, is not the morality that they practice in their real life. So then we have a responsibility to talk about the morality. Now, morality, as we understand in Pali, we call it sila. Now, sila is very important because sila could be a starting point to our practice. But a mere sila will not take us anywhere. This is what happened with the Jains. Now, the Jains, the followers of the Nikanatha Buddha Mahavira, they had this extreme sila. And the Buddha said, sila is the starting point, entry point, but we should not end up in sila, right? But when we talk about our own behaviors, I would say habits, I would say our own parameters of our morality, then we also need to look at what kind of a morality that we are supposed to talk about. Now, in philosophy, there are two types of morality that we understand by subjective, objective morality and subjective morality. That's very interesting. And I also wanted to ask you to post your questions in the comments below on Facebook and YouTube. So, what is then objective morality? Now, morality is sila, but when we look at it in a broader context, we understand morality has two aspects, objective and subjective. Now, objective morality simply means a belief that morality is not up for interpretation. It's kind of universal. It is already defined, already interpreted. There's no room for change. This is what we understand by different religious teachings. I would say, uh, I don't want to call, I would say XYZ teachings where we understand, okay, this is what we all supposed to practice. There's no change. You can't change. You can't even think about it. You can't even question about it. So you simply wanted to follow. You simply have to follow. This is called objective morality. Now, oftentimes we understand that this is where people get stuck. I mean, they simply take the precepts, probably they renew the precept, but in their actual practice, they miss out on what they take as precept, seal. Because the main reason is that they simply follow a teaching uh, just because they wanted to maintain, I would say, some of their ancient things, sacred things. But subjective morality, uh, on the other hand, is the opposite. In subjective morality, we believe that all these morals, whatever the things that are inside the morality, they are made by humans. And also, there is room for change. That means morality has to evolve, right? No morality can be stagnated, can be stated, I would say, stayed in the same way. Now, for example, if you look at the kind of morality that we see in 6 BCE, most of the rules and laws and moral things that we understand at that time and then over time, they were pretty much based on the society, that those laws were actually deemed necessary, considered necessary. But as time changes, periods get changed. Different people understand, interpret differently. Technology, industrialization, modernization, urbanization, and all these big concepts start to evolve, then there is certainly a need that we have to look at them differently. I mean, as requested, as needed by the society, because we can't ignore the society by just focusing on a book, because they have to be changed according to the needs of uh, people, whatever the people who follow. So subjective morality is kind of a morality, I mean, which is what we understand by more practical, to believe that the morality has to be uh, taken in a way that they were made by humans earlier, and they have to be evolved. But it doesn't mean that we have to change the way that we want. I mean, we have to look at it through the lens of the needs of the society. Because if you ignore the society, that means you are not in the right time. You are not living in the present moment, right? Now, for example, I would say now there are a lot of, I would say, moral precepts that we understand in different old and the precepts sets, right? Not wearing jewelry, not wearing this and that. I mean, how is this going to be practical in today's world, right? So we have to look at it differently. I mean, probably at that time, people they were wearing different, I would say, materials, not even just the jewelries, right? And one another thing is that, yeah, I mean, time for eating, and then accepting gold and silver. But in today's time, we don't have gold and silver acceptance, right? We have money, we have credit cards, right? So the moral obligations have been evolved over time. So we have to custom tailor these precepts as per the needs of society. Even if you take five precepts, how do five precepts uh, consider or relate to the modern world, right? So it is better to understand the context of hypocrisy with subjective morality, because that has more room actually for us to become people who actually work with humility, not with hypocrisy. The opposite of hypocrisy is humility, which means that you understand what's going on. You understand how to perform well, how to do well with your actions and uh, words. Now, when we are not able to act on how we talk, then there is a huge, I would say, cognitive dissonance between how we think and what we do. Now, for example, let's say now when you look at the same fault, mistake, blunder that someone that you don't know uh, has done, and the same mistake, failure, whatever such kind of a thing that was done by some of your friends, some of your family members. If you are someone who is going to look at them differently, that means you have hypocrisy. Because uh, I would say the wrong thing is wrong thing, regardless of who did it, right? Because we're going to look at it that way. Because if you look at the wrong thing done by your friends, your family members, from different from somebody else that you don't know, that means you don't have this straightforwardness. You don't have this humility. So you are very hypocritical. That's no good. That's why in Metta Sutta we understand a couple words for this: ujucha and sujucha. And we call it a straightforwardness. That means you are very straightforward when you think, when you judge, when you look at. At the same time, sakko uju sujuja, you are very honest about what you are doing. These are two very important things that are really relevant to our life. If you are not straightforward with what you are doing, and then if you are not honest about what you are doing and how you are doing, then you are in trouble. Even if you take a look at of the second, the third triple gem, Supatipanno Bhagavatu Savakasam, Ujupatipanno. So the monks of the Buddha, I would say the Sangha of the Buddha, they are straightforward, they are upright. Their practice is not like wavering, they are not altering their precept, their practice. They are very straightforward. They know where they are heading to. So, in that context, we have to understand that hypocrisy also relates to our judgments too. How the way how we do the judgments. For example, if you give more freedom, if you follow a very lenient perspective towards the bad things done by your friends and families, and you are doing a very rough, stringent, rigorous attitude towards the bad things done by other people, that means you are bringing two perspectives. You are actually keeping two perspectives on the same thing. Then you're gonna be a hypocritic person. You have the hypocrisy. If you are someone who understands the wrong thing is the wrong thing, the bad thing is the bad thing, good thing is the good thing, right thing is the right thing, then you are having humility. You are a straightforward person. I know there are things that might affect because people around you expect you to look at them more leniently rather than more rough, right? But keeping that rapport, friendship, whatever the thing, you should be able to look at it, right? Otherwise, you won't look at the truth or the reality of that particular action, particular word. Okay, so I actually was trying to show you another aspect. Now, humility, on the other hand, is the quality of not being proud because you are aware of your bad qualities. That means you understand, you get to see what you are doing, what you have been doing so far, and you get to see what your friends and families have been doing so far. And you also look at what other people have been doing so far. So you're pretty straightforward, you're pretty upright. You are not like unwise. So you know what hypocrisy means and what humility means. So the main thing that we have to keep in mind is that hypocrisy means that you are keeping double standard about your morality. So morality means subjective and objective morality. So we would, because there are so many arguments in philosophy about objective morality and subjective morality. People who are pretty much religious, they want to pick on, I would say, uh, objective morality because they want to see a very straight line uh, about morality given by XYZ people. But we as Buddhists, we look at morality in a very lenient way. We don't want to say that you must do, you have to look at it and see how this is going to work for you and see the freedom. I mean, just because you are free, independent, look at it, but do not infringe the rights and responsibilities, happiness of other people, right? So we have this very soft, very flexible, and very, I would say, wholesome, holistic perspective towards everybody when you look at morality. So our morality is mostly based on subjective morality. It doesn't mean that we can actually change the way we want, but we are very, I would say, lenient about how things happening because the most important thing is to attain wisdom because sila prepares us to samadhi and then samadhi prepares us to uh, panya. So if panya is our main purpose, then what we have to do is that starting point, entry point, being the sila, has to be upgraded slowly into samadhi and finally panya. Now, how does hypocrisy arise within us? Now, that's a very interesting aspect of our talk. We understand we all have sakkaya in different ways, unless you have not become a sotapanna person. Now, sakkaya is nothing but the grasping upadana of your five aggregates, rupa, kanda, sila, sorry, rupa, vedana, sanya, sankhara, vijnana. If somebody grabs one of these or all of these aggregates, actually, even if you grasp one of the panchakanda, five aggregates, then you are also automatically grasping the rest of the five aggregates too. Then you are not then grasping the five aggregates. Then what you will be with is that you're going to be with the five aggregates clung. Uh, we call it actually aggregates clung by uh, the grasping. That's clinging towards the five aggregates. That's not a good thing. Now, when somebody has this perspective of hypocrisy, or when somebody is very hypocritic, what we understand in such people is that they have an inflated sense of ego. Their ego is inflated, has been inflated for different reasons. They have their own self-righteousness. We are supposed to practice righteousness, uh, regardless of where we are living, who we living with. But they have their own self-righteousness. They actually defend the way that they want them to be, right? And then the other gray area that they don't see is that they have a huge inability to be humble. They are not humble at all, because if they are humble, they would have definitely seen their problem. So hypocritic people, they never tend to be humble. They are always manipulative, controlling, and then continue the way that they want to be. So, as I said to you, they have this defense mechanism that they wanted to, uh, sort of dominate, and they are very domineering about what they believe. And I mean, the roots of hypocrisy uh, lie with small things. Now, let's say there's a teenager. If you are a teenager, let's say that you are accused of doing some wrong, something like, let's say you accused of doing kind of a wrongdoing. Now we have seen many times, and we have seen, like, I would say oftentimes, that kind of a teenager might say that, well, my brother did too. Not only me, my friends also did that. My brother also did it. My sister also did it. So, this is kind of a very simple example from you know childhood times, right? So when somebody is showing that you have a problem, you have done something, and if you are justifying what you have done, saying that somebody else also did it, so what's the problem? That means this is the nature of a hypocritic person. So people who have hypocrisy, they always want to defend what they have done, right? Because they are not humble to accept what they have done. There's a problem. Their ego is inflated, and most probably they are looking for validations. Uh, I would say as self-esteem, right? Validations, right? Now let's take a look at of what causes hypocrisy. Thing. Let's see the causes of hypocrisy. What are the causes of hypocrisy? Now, fundamentally, it's twofold: fear and lack of self-esteem, probably low self-esteem. Now, we already done a talk about fear, I guess, some months ago. We were talking about fear in different aspects. Fear is sometimes a necessary thing. Now, even in Buddhism, we know, in order for us to attain Nibbana or get to the Sotapanna path, I would say the Arya Magga, noble path, we should feel the fear of being reborn in different other lives, existences. So that fear is good. Sometimes there is a fear that comes from medical perspective. Let's say a doctor is to say to you that you have to stop eating sugar, uh, unnecessary oils, right? And then you take care. That's not wrong. You take care in a healthy way. If the doctor hadn't told you, you would have actually continued the way that you been consuming the food, right? So we need kind of a fear, but not to a level where we complicate our stress levels, anxiety, depression, and so on and so forth. That's bad. Every good thing can be a bad thing if we are not balancing them out, right? So we have to always balance out. What do you call, do everything in moderation, right? Even the good thing. So at the root of hypocrisy, there are two things lie. One is fear, the other is lack of self-esteem. I would say low self-esteem. Now, why are many fear that? I mean, different things. Why are many people scared of their lives? Because they have insecurities, insecurity about life, insecurity about jobs, insecurity about the other half, insecurity about safety, insecurity about friends and families, insecurity about so many other things, probably personal things too. I mean, even the body image awareness. There are so many things. But in Buddhism, we understand these unnecessary, irrational fears have to be calmed down. Because if you are not taking care of, if you are not taking down your unnecessary irrational fears, then fears will take you over. Fears will take you down because they are irrational. Now if you want to be feared at anything, you can be feared at any time, right? But we have a responsibility to take charge of our health, mental and physical health. In that attempt, in that process, we have to understand fears can arise very quick, but the safety, uh, I would say, the feelings of safety are rarely arising because you have to work on it. You have to understand how can I let go of my fears. And oftentimes, these fears that come to us, depending on how each individual manages their own fears, they are irrational. They are not real. You create in your inner circle, right? That's not a good thing, actually. Sometimes you are creating irrational, I would say, uh, unreal fears. They are not actually happening to you, but you create them. Like some movie makers create some unreal things, right? Good for a movie, but I mean, not for us. Right? In real life, we have to reduce the level of our fears. So when someone is having a lot of fears, then that person is going to be a certain definite hypocritic person. Definitely, that person is having hypocrisy because that person can get rid of their fears or his or her fears. That's why fear is one of the very uh, disturbing and affecting factor towards someone's hypocrisy, right? So that means you should find out peace, happiness, and then I would say safety. So if you are feeling you are not safe, you are really into trouble, you are struggling with different other mental problems, definitely you will be somebody who will be hypocrite, who has hypocrisy. That's not a good thing. The other aspect of, I would say, the other reason, other cause of being a hypocritic is self-esteem, lack of, or I would say, low self-esteem. Now, this is very interesting. Now, the Buddha has shared many ideas about this topic. Why do we need to boost our self-esteem? Now, self-esteem is something that we have to do personally because we all come from different backgrounds. I mean, physically, mentally, even from the sansara. So each person has his or her own way of thinking about anything. So how can we then boost or develop our self-esteem? Self-esteem is not something that somebody else can help with somebody else. It is something you have to plan. You have to organize your life. Now, if you take a look at your life in general, your health, physical health and mental health, I think these are the two very important aspects of your life. Forget about your education, your jobs, your work life, and all that. So, taking care of your physical and mental health lie at the highest level of your uh, self-esteem. So then you are expected to make the wise decisions, right? Now, starting from being with Kalyana Mitras, huh? Are you being with the Kalyana Mitras, noble friends, good friends, wise friends, right? So all these make up your self-esteem, right? Because if you are not with the right people, be that you are better have a spouse, and then other maybe work friends, maybe I would say people that you are always like interacting with, then you get to think that you don't have enough self-esteem, right? So then you need to work on your self-esteem in a very healthy, holistic way. Do not think it's a difficult thing because we all have to do it personally, right? Uh, as the Buddha exactly said to us, Tumhehi kichang atappang akkhataru tata. You have to strive on yourself. Tathagatas only help you, only guide you actually. I mean, we should not misinterpret his saying. Tathagatas only guide us. Patipanna pamukhanti jaino marva. Those who, get into the practice will be liberated from the Mara's bondages. Mara's bondages are always, we call it Mara's flowers, and he actually, set up some baits towards the normal folks, and we get stuck into that pleasures. So the Buddha's idea is that he only guides us; he cannot take us there. So we have to take us towards our holistic purpose. That's why I'm always reiterating, uh, to kind of say that you have to take care of your physical and mental health. There's only guidance available from the Buddhist teachings. So now, how is it going to be relevant to this idea? Is that now we are talking about the causes of being a hypocritic person, someone who has hypocrisy. So there are two main causes for somebody to be hypocritic. One is an irrational fears, developing irrational fears, while the other one is lack of self-esteem. I don't think that there is anyone who has no self-esteem at all. Everybody has a certain level of self-esteem, but we have to boost it. Otherwise, we will be taken over by unnecessary things. Now, we always want to believe that our decisions, our way of thinking, our way of uh, coming up with some perspectives, attitudes would be the noblest, I would say, the best, the most important ways of deciding on different things. That's not going to work at some point, right? Because we have to always understand that in order for us to make good decisions, we have to work with other people too. We have to respect, we have to understand each other, right? Because now, even if you look at hypocrisy from a very Buddhist point in a sutta, like Kuhana perspective, hypocrisy. Now, in Kuhana, the Buddha says there are people, even including monastics, who display, who show to other people that they are better than others. They have better sila, they have better virtues. Probably, if it was done by a monastic, the monastic might show this to devotees, saying that I'm better than other monk. If it is done by a lay person who is more, I would say, dedicated, committed to a certain practice, that person might show this to other people, saying, I'm better than you, especially in our practice. Now, the Buddha says this is double standard. This is kuhana. If you are a good person, you don't want to show it to other people, right? In Buddhism, you can't show your practice to others. You do it. You don't want to actually, you know, uh, talk a lot about what you've been doing. Only if it is necessary for a meditative practice by a meditation teacher. Otherwise, you are keeping yourself to you. That's being very honest and then very humble, right? Now, what I was trying to tell you was that people who have hypocrisy always want to show other people that we are better than you. Now, this start from a place where they have a lot of fears about your future and the present moment, present time, and then also uh, because of their low self-esteem. Now, going beyond that kind of a mentality which the hypocritic people maintain over time. Now, even at workplace, now I know you all work for the most part of your time. You probably may enjoy gossiping about somebody like a coworker with other coworkers, right? I mean, this is something that can happen. But you never want to look at your side, your performance. You can easily gossip about other coworkers. Okay, this he actually blundered and screwed up today, but you're showing that as if that you are better than others. You kind of the group that you are gossiping, at that point, think that we are better than that kind of an employee. But you never look at you through the lens of what may have gone wrong, right? That's why we can be hypocritical in different ways. So we should never go into such extents of like gossiping about other people, because the thing is we have to always look at us. Now, remember the Buddha's advice to some royal, I would say, a group of royal children. And actually, they had a problem. They went for a camping trip, and what happened was that everybody had a girlfriend, and one prince didn't actually find a girlfriend, and he actually brought an escort to the camping place ground. And what happened was that this escort was actually looking at a time to steal the jewelries of the other royal members of the family, and then she stole all the jewelries and she actually ran away. And now everybody's looking at what happened to their jewelries, and they were then asking from everybody, did you guys see somebody who was actually running at this place? And they found a monastic on the way, and it was the Buddha. And then they asked the Buddha, "Did you see someone who was actually going this way with our jewelries?" And the first thing the Buddha was to ask from them was, "Napare sang vilomani, napare sang katakatan, attano avekaya katane katan." Which one is more important? Is it your actions or other people's actions? Is it minding your actions or other people's actions? So the royal members of the family, they were wise enough to understand. They were intelligent enough to understand. They were saying to the Buddha, it's of course good to be mindful about what we do, not what other people do. So gossiping is such unimportant. It actually kills our time. It kills our preciousness of our conversations. Okay, so here the reason why I brought you to a kind of a workplace scenario is that you may tend to gossip about a coworker's performance, right? Saying that, see, I mean, this coworker actually has screwed up today. It can happen to everyone, and we all may blunder, screw up at any time. But the most important thing is, are we giving the same attention to our inabilities? Because we are hypocritic in that sense. If we are not doing the same equal attention that we done towards another employee, co-worker, that means we are hypocritic. We have hypocrisy. We have to equally look at everything. We have to look at things with fairness and justice. Otherwise, we have hypocrisy, even at workplace. Okay, now the most important part: how can we stop being hypocritics? Now, everybody is actually waiting to hear these things. Okay, so number one is that now if you are someone who thinks that you need to always live up to your moral standards, I mean, it's a good thing, but you also have to understand the flip side, the gray area. That means we might not live up to our own moral conduct at certain points. We should have the space, right? When you plan something, you should also need to plan a couple other things too, right? We always should have a B plan, not only the A plan, B, C, D. right? So we have to stop thinking that we are always able to live up to our moral standards. So we may screw up, it's okay, but we are not going to do it intentionally. It can happen. If it happens, do not defend yourself. Understand this is kind of a human mistake. We have to admit that these are mistakes. So if you understand that these are mistakes, then you are not trying to cover up that particular bad thing. You are not defending your bad thing. You are very open minded. You are very straightforward, and other people will also understand you. That's a very pretty much good, straightforward, open conversation that can happen at any times. We also need to have a huge amount of empathy, like I mean empathizing what's going on. I mean, if you put yourself in other people's shoes, you never gossip about other people, right? You can laugh at other people because you don't know that this thing will come up in your own way in your sansara, right? So we understand a lot of karma stories about different people. They have done it in the past, now they are suffering, right? So we are always asked to be empathetic. I would say practice empathy. I mean, putting yourself in other people's shoes. Because yeah, ultimately this leads us to a compassion, right? When we are compassionate, we are compassionate towards us and towards other people. So uh, you will cut down on these fine situations where you can be hypocritical. Okay, let's take some clear steps in not becoming a hypocrite. Number one, you can focus on you without focusing on what other people are doing. I mean, this is what I said with the, uh, you know, the set of royal family members and what the Buddha said to them, right? So we why we always want to be concerned about what other people are doing. I mean, we have to be concerned if there are uh, any issues that we can help with them. But why we always want to focus on what other people are doing? I mean, what if that we mind our business, right? That's a very good thing. So that you are not going to be hypocritical because you are not gossiping about others. You are focusing on you, but it's not being selfish. It means that you take care of you and you take care of others whenever they need your help, whenever things are necessary for you to focus. Stop insulting others so quickly, right? The people who always quick to their anger and to insult others, they have this what do you call elements of fear. I mean, irrational fears and low self-esteem. They are the people who always want to find fault with other people. A noble person, a wise person, always looks at different ways to, I would say, manage and to help out other people. They are not trying to sort of find fault, because if we are not very quick to judgments, uh, to insults, or I would say criticism, we will be not going to be hypocritic people, because hypocritic people always want to find fault with others. So be slow to your judgments, be slow to your anger. You can also uh, pinpoint context and how it alters the way that you think of it, right? Because if you think that you have a problem with your morality, the way how you practice your morality, you can sort of like identify a certain context of your problems with your own morality, which will tend to be, tend you to be a hypocritical person, and and how things change with your own thinking. That will also help you. For example, let's say you claim that you are like this, and then you get change over time. You get change in a situation. If you really understand this thing at a certain point of your life, then you will not make that happen. You know that although you promise to other people, although you you claim that you have this and that, but you are changing at different times, right? You can start paying attention to, um, you know, your cognitive dissonance, where you have issues with your, cognitive side of your life, right? Because when you are not fulfilling, when you are not acting upon the way you were talking about yourself or other people, that means there is a cognitive dissonance that can happen. This is a kind of psychological word. And if you look at where I have gone wrong, where I have actually done, where I have led myself towards cognitive dissonance, then I have to identify those places so I can get rid of my hypocrisy. Be slow to judgments. This is the fifth one. Because if you are very fast, quick to judgments, then you will definitely become a uh, hypocritic person. Always be slow to that. Be slow. Actually, be slow to all the negative thoughts. Take your time. And also stop making promises that you can't keep. This is what many people don't understand. This is where they're going to be intentional hypocritics, right? I would say self-proclaimed hypocritics, right? That's the proper word. I would say they say they're going to do like this and that, but in reality, they are not doing anything like this. Why you want to make promises to other people, saying that you're going to do that? You don't need to. Just keep yourself. Keep your own promises to yourself. Don't make them to others. Okay, so these are, I think, pretty much good. So we've been actually talking about a couple of steps. Ignore what other people are doing and focus on yourself. Stop insulting others so quickly. You should not insult anybody quickly or slow. Criticizing things so quickly. Pinpoint context and how it alters the way that you think. Start paying attention to your cognitive dissonance situations. Reserve judgment or be slow to your judgment until you have experienced something about it, and stop never make promises that you can't keep. So I think these six steps will actually create you a person who can get out of this hypocrisy. If you have hypocrisy, I think we all have hypocrisy at different levels. Now let's take a look at of hypocrisy in a general life from another perspective. Now, if you give enough thoughts about somebody who is very hypocritic, it is not surprising that you will find out something very nice. That means a lot of people that continue with their hypocrisy, uh, there is something that we can see in them. What is it? That they all want to be loved and accepted without judgment. Now, this is why they may sometimes continue with their hypocritic actions. They need a deep love, but they can't share it with other people. They can be very expressive about it, right? On the other hand, they want to be accepted without judgment. Now, there are people who want to be accepted without questioning a lot. But this is actually not easy. You say whatever you want to say, and then you expect other people validate you. I mean, if it is not rational, if it is not practical, other people will not accept you, right? But if we understand this person needs lots of love, also validation, we may understand what's going on. This is why a lot of people, they are very hypocritic in their life. So we ask everybody who thinks that their defense mechanism is good to go because they want to be hypocritic, they want to protect them, they want to defend what they are doing. We ask them to be uh, looking at humility, understand your issues, and then not stick to your this practice of hypocrisy, because there are so many ways you can get help. Because if you continue with your hypocritic attitudes or hypocrisy, you will end up with something really stagnated, really terrible. That's why you need to, I would say, listen to a talk like this, or you need to seek a health professional, mental professional, psychiatric person, psychologist, psychotherapist. Because this is all mental, not physical, right? Because you need help, right? In today's world, as we see that we are actually much better than 50 years ago with our physical medicinal perspectives. I mean, we are better in terms of facilities, but in terms of mental health, this is a new subject that people are talking all the time, regardless of celebrities, working professionals, uh, religious people, normal people, everybody. Because in order for you to understand your mental problems, you need to, I mean, consult somebody who is authorized to talk about it and authorized to give you the services. But if you keep it within you, if you are not expressive about it, you will be definitely getting stuck in your life. You will be definitely harming yourself. You are not taking charge of your health, physical, mental health after that. All right. Any questions about today's topic? We've been actually talking about uh, how to overcome hypocrisy, and the exact topic is stop being a hypocrite, because we believe that we all have an opportunity to free us from being hypocrite, to free us from hypocrisy. We should never be hypocritic people. Always try to say something that you can do. If you think you can do that, if you can do anything, don't make statements that you're going to be doing that, right? Otherwise, you will be frowned upon. You will be actually, you know, uh, taken as somebody who is not having any weight in speech. So Buddha told us how to be strong, how to be straightforward, how to be open-minded, how to be upright in our thinking, our actions, and our speech. Any questions? I will take 1 minute for that. Okay, I got a question here. Bhante, how do we deal with people who are egoistic and think that they are always right? Yeah, a very good question. Now, we all have to remember that, remind us that we all have ego, but some people have more ego. So, I think the first thing that we have to keep in mind in dealing with them is that we have to show them that we accept them, we validate what they do, although it is irrational, because we have to show them kind of empathy, compassion. Then only they will open up for us. Other than that, if you're going to say, "Hey, you have an inflated high ego, you have to keep it down," they will be angry, more angry. So first, you have to create a very healthy connection with them. If you really want to help, you can validate, you can accept that person in a very friendly way, so that that person will be opening up with you. That is how you're going to create the connection and then help that person. And then over time, that person will be more opening up with you. And then you can share, you know what, we don't need to do. And because you are creating a friendly conversation over time, you can help that person. Okay, I think there are no more questions. I think that was answered by me. Let's move on to the transference of merits and sharing of the merits, the departed individuals and the deities. May all the good karmas that we've been accumulating so far be transferred to all the departed relatives, Jnatis. May they be happy and peaceful. May they attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Idam me jnati nang huntu sukita huntu jnatiyu. Idam me jnati nang huntu sukita huntu jnatiyu. Idam me jnati nang huntu sukita huntu jnatiyu. Let's also share all the good karmas with the devas, nagas, and mahikas. May all the devas and nagas, mahikas protect you, bless you for good health, quality of your life, and all the prosperity and safety, peace. May all the devas, nagas, and mahikas also attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Ittavata cha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang Sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya ittavata cha ammehi sambatan punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya ittavata cha ammehi sambatan punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya akasatha cha bummantha devanaga mahittika Punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu lokasasanang Akasatha cha bhummatha devanaga mahittika Punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu desanang Akasatha cha bhummatha devanaga mahittika Punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu mang paranti Tutvan sadati. Finally, let's make a great wish that we actually this is kind of a the most you know willingness towards attaining nibbana. May all the good karmas that we've been doing so far be helpful for all of us to attain the supreme bliss of nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I'm going to be blessing you with a couple more stanzas. Please receive the blessings. अभिवादनशीलिस्य निच्छं वद्धापचायिनो चत्वारो धम्मा वर्धन्ति आयुर्वन्नो सुखं बलम् आयुरारोग्यसम्पत्ति सङ्गसम्पत्तिमेव च अतो निब्बानसम्पत्ति इमिनाते समिञ्चतु. I hope that you take care of yourself and have a good day and have a good night for those folks who joined from North America.